Okay, so today um, I fell behind in my Course in Miracles workbook lessons, and I wanted to touch base, and I went back to several days ago when I had left off and read the workbook lesson for those days ago. And really interestingly, um, so again, A Course in Miracles teachings and the teachings of the guides through Paul Selig in his books are very, very similar. The guides' books are in much greater detail. So the books that Paul Selig puts out from the guides they're very much more expansive on individual ideas from A Course in Miracles. So that is how I see it. Okay. Take it for what it's worth, but that is how I see it. So, looking at that lesson, there were many things that came up for me that I found to be quite interesting and kind of ironic. So, I'm going to share that here. It was talking about the freedom of the Son of God, the freedom of the Son of God. And I have said many other times, you, me, all of us, we are the Son of God. It doesn't matter what sex your body is, we are the offspring, the child of God. So we use the Son of God to simplify, but I'm not going to get into that whole patriarchy situation. If you're uncomfortable with, being called a son of God and you are female or male or whatever you may be in this life, turn off the video. Okay. So looking back at this lesson that I was reading about the freedom of the Son of God, and it says basically, Father, let me not put limitations on the Son of God. And I'm paraphrasing, okay? The reason this is interesting is it says about laws, how our laws, it talks about law idolatry, which I think is really interesting. And as soon as I read this a couple of times, I got a flash of, in our world, we create laws, or politicians, seated officials create laws in an attempt to make us safe. And I'm going to point out a lot of things about this, what I just said. Laws do not make us safe. Laws may give us the illusion of safety, may make us feel safer, but laws do not make us safe. Okay, why do I say that? I say this because if a person is murderous, if this is who they choose to be, they will go out and murder, all right? The law says they're not to do this, but the Son of God is free. So until they are caught and prosecuted and detained in whatever facility or in whatever way, they will act as the murderous one. I think about this recently because my car inspection ran out, and I was driving around not realizing that my car inspection had run out. So funny, I drove around for a month beyond my inspection date, not realizing that it had run out. And looking at this lesson in the Course, it talks about that the Son of God is free. The only thing that makes the Son of God believe they're not free is their beliefs. It is their thoughts and ideas. And it's really funny because I'm going to relate it to this, how my car inspection had run out. So I drove around for a full month, not realizing my inspection had run out. So I had no fear. I had no issue while I was in the forgetting that my inspection had run out. It was not until I realized my inspection had lapsed that I became fearful. And then wouldn't drive my car anywhere because I knew at that point that my inspection had run out, and the law states we have to have these inspections done. What's really interesting about that is, as I got this flash when I was reading over this lesson, it was like, that whole time I was driving around with a lapsed inspection. And when I didn't realize it was lapsed, I had no fear. I wasn't worried. I just went about my business and everything was fine. Everything was fine. But the moment that I realized that the inspection was lapsed, then the fear came in. And oh my gosh, now, because, I know this inspection has lapsed, I am trapped in a sense because I can't drive anywhere, right? So just relating to things that happened recently, I'm, looking at this Course in Miracles lesson and saying, my car is in good condition. My husband changes the brakes when they need changed. He does the oil, whatever it needs, he does. So the car is in good condition. I have no reason to be concerned to drive this car. If I have a tire that is losing air, my husband will either put a plug in the tire or we'll get a new tire or whatever. But we maintain the vehicle. So to me, just driving down the road, I have no issues with that. If I felt the car was unsafe, I would have an issue and I would have to have it serviced, or my husband would fix whatever it was, this kind of thing. And so I'm sitting here. Sorry about that. That was me. I moved my foot. Side note, we have rabbits and we raise meat rabbits. And sometimes Missy gets attached to the rabbits, and we have a rabbit outside. We call her Cow. She's a white rabbit with black spots, and we call her Cow. And she's like over 4 years old. And we attempted to breed her, and she was bred. She only had one baby, and it didn't make it. She's kind of getting up in years, and my thought is we're not going to keep attempting to breed her because I don't want to put her through that, and I don't want to go through that. So she just kind of runs free here. And she happens to be outside, sitting under our front porch steps, laying under our front porch steps. And my dog is staring out the window. We have really big windows that go almost floor to ceiling. And my dog is staring out the window at the rabbit she can see laying under the porch steps. So she's edgy because I guess she thinks this rabbit shouldn't be where it is. Which is also interesting. We go back to the Course, right? I'm okay with the rabbit being where she is. She's perfectly fine there. I don't have any issues with that rabbit being there. But the dog obviously thinks that this is unacceptable. And you can hear her whining, and it's causing her great distress. So, it's perfectly eloquent what's going on with the Course, right? So not until the mind creates the fear is it there. But I look at all the things now. I'm looking at this inspection, which leads me to other things. The laws that we create in an attempt to make a false safety, like to make us feel safe, which really don't make us safe. They can, it would be, I'm going to say, it would be just as effective to say to people, we strongly suggest that you have these things done. You get your car inspected once a year. We strongly suggest, however, if you're going to maintain your vehicle for your own safety, and thereby the safety of those around you to the best of your ability, you don't really need that. You don't really need an inspection. So, you know, and I could go that far too to say somebody who doesn't care about the safety of their vehicle, they're going to drive that vehicle, whether it's safe or not. And, you know, the inspection sticker really does not affect that. So you could have, you know, I've known, not to pick on mechanics, but, you know, back in the day, there were mechanics that wouldn't even look at your car. You just gave them the money, you turned over the money, and they gave you the sticker, you know. And yes, there are laws in place about this and all this other stuff, and here we go with more laws. And, you know, there again comes to a point of personal accountability where we have to take be personally responsible for the choices we make in the lives that we live. So, you know, if I drive down the road and my car is unsafe, I understand that that is not only a risk to me, but it's also a risk to anyone else on the road with me. You know, I get that. I'm an adult. That thought process is, you know, A to Z. I get it. So the problem truly is in a lack of education. And I don't mean education from the academic systems of our planet. I mean education in the truth of who we are as a collective human race here. Because if we were educated on who we are as a human race in this life incarnation, we would understand that everything we do affects everyone else. The choices we make affect all other humans here, affect the trees and the earth and the animals, and affects all of that. And that has to do with, that's a way of educating someone that it's not mind diluting, it's not world heavy, it's here you are as a human on this planet. And as a human on this planet, your choices affect the planet, everyone and everything on it, you know? So I just thought it was interesting, and I have a lot more to read. They don't recommend that you do that, but I'm going to do it anyway because I don't like to be behind. So I'm going to do that anyway and try to get myself back up to speed to the point where I'm on the right day of the year. It's a bit of an obsessive compulsive thing. However, I digress. But that was just kind of a bit of frustration and thought stream today, and also validation for the course, because it's absolutely true that, you know, the limitations of the Son of God have been placed there by the laws that we uphold by conforming to. And I'm not saying to not conform to laws, but what I'm saying is if we were all responsible, accountable human beings, we wouldn't need these laws, you know. And the laws really don't protect us, though we might like to believe they do. They don't really protect us from those who are not responsible and accountable as human beings. All those laws do is truly, if I look at it very, very well, all the laws do is give us a false sense of safety. They give us a jurisdiction for punishing those who step outside the box, step over the line in a way that some others think they shouldn't. They don't really make them more accountable. They really don't. Do they cause them some grief maybe in the moment about a choice they're going to make? Maybe they do. Maybe it makes them think twice. But what would be more beneficial is if we were taught the truth of who we are and how who we are affects everyone and everything else. And that would be a whole lot more beneficial than laws, you know? But back in the day, we were taught to fear God. We were taught to fear God for the same reason, because, you know, the idea was that you have to be afraid in order to conform to whatever. Well, maybe there's a better way. Maybe fear should not be our teacher forever. Maybe love should be our teacher forever. And from the loving place say, it's really not very loving if I drive my car down the road and it's unsafe and I put myself and others in jeopardy by making that choice, right? Having said that, an inspection sticker on my car doesn't mean my tire is not going to blow and that's not going to result in an accident. An inspection sticker on my car when the winter weather comes and the weather is bad is not going to save me from having an accident by slipping and sliding on the road, or anyone else for that matter. So, these laws that we choose to run life by here are really only distractions from the greater truth that if we knew who we are, no one would have to tell us how to be in the world. No one would have to tell us, that you must pay this, you must pay that. And believe you me, it is all about the money. It is all about the money, because if you look at it, you pay for an inspection to be done. Yes, you're paying that mechanic for the work that he does, and that part is very good. However, that mechanic is paying taxes to the government and insurances on this, that, and the other thing. And there's all of this money coming out of his pocket having to do with being an inspection mechanic, okay? So there's all kinds of things that just really aren't necessary. Just really aren't necessary. It's all just smoke and mirrors to make more money transactions, So unfortunately, so there's my rant for the day. I hope this message finds you well, in peace and in love. May you be blessed.